Hello everyone, I'm Wendall Jones and welcome to this edition of the program Jones and Company. On this program we examine the national issues of the Bahamas, and there's a whole lot happening in our country politically. And on our program today we are going to examine some of the issues that you would have read about or heard about in recent months in our country. Our guest on the program today is the Member of Parliament for Montague, Mr. Richard Lightbourne. He is an attorney by profession, as many people would know, and he has been quite an effective spokesman for the opposition on many issues in our country, and it's our pleasure to have him here as our guest today. Mr. Lightbourne, welcome.
Thank you very much, Wendell. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. It's been a long time coming. I think this is your first time on Jones and Company.
It is, yeah.
Yes, very good. And how are you enjoying your first term as a Member of Parliament?
I'm enjoying it very much. I've a bit late in getting into politics, but it has been something that I have been on the verge of joining for some time. I'd been offered on previous occasions to run, and it just hadn't been the right moment. But I've very much enjoyed what I have involved with so far, and I look forward to continuing there. I'm a little older than most politicians in the first time, but my family are blessed, and I think I have some of those genes with longevity, and I think that I can provide some help for the party and for the country in the future.
Very good. And the way Montague is configured, you have a very challenging area, I think, because it is quite expansive, isn't it?
The actual size of it isn't particularly of concern, but there is a wide variety of persons and within the community. So from that standpoint, it's very varied areas, and so some might have considered it challenging, but fortunately I was able to come out victorious. Montague has been regarded as effectively an FNM seat. I think yes. It's never been won by the PLP. In fact, was it 2002 that there was only one, when there was one FNM representative in New Providence, that was the one seat that we won. Right. But of course the boundaries have changed a lot. Every so often the government seems to think they have to change the boundaries, and I would just caution the government that I think they're well aware of this. The last 4 out of 5 times the boundaries have changed, government is lost.
Yes, yes. You have a portion of what used to be Anstown, right?
Yes. The large part of the Kemp Road area was part of Anstown for many years. Previously, the last prior election, Montague went a lot further east, went up to Fox Hill Road. So now we start at Blair on the eastern side of Blair. Yes. To Montrose Avenue.
Tell us, what is happening in the Free National Movement now, Mr. Lightbourne? In recent days, many people got a little concerned about certain press releases we saw coming out. I think you are one of the persons who called for an apology. Then we saw another press release saying that, well, you know, matters ought to be discussed internally and remain within the councils of the party. What is the state of the Free National Movement today?
Well, I think it's healthy having differing views within a party that one is able to express it. Perhaps it hasn't been best the way that it has been handled in the public, that there has been a little more out in the public than one would normally like. But I think we've arrived at a point where in the future we will endeavor to solve our issues internally. And hopefully at the end of this whole process, the party will come out stronger and ready to win the next election.
I remember in the 70s, the slogan was all together. Is the FNM all together?
It is altogether it is altogether in its goal and its objective. There's no question of that. And we have to do a little fine tuning, and I think that the party has the strength and the character and the support of its the constituents that we will arrive at the right position, and as I say, we will end up victorious.
Many people believe that in terms of the issues in our country, they are pretty much lined up in favor of the Free National Movement, meaning that, you know, there are a number of people who are critical of the government of the Bahamas on a number of issues, whether it's unemployment and crime and the rest of it. And many FNMs are very disappointed that there seems to be infighting and a whole lot of acrimony in the party. You must be very concerned about that yourself, eh?
Yes, well, Wendell, I don't like there to be apparent acrimony, but you know, we're at a point where I think that it's important for the party to have a convention to sort out a lot of these issues that have been expressed in public and in private. And I think that would have the effect of, I think, bringing together the factions after a convention. The council have now agreed that we're going to have one. It's a question of when, and so I think at the next council meeting there'll be an attempt to settle on a date for the convention. So it's very important. It gives the party the opportunity to show its candidates, to show its policies on different issues, and whoever should turn out as the leader or the leadership team of the party, it gives them the opportunity to show their strength and show the reason why they have been selected as leaders of the party, and hopefully the public will buy into whoever comes out victorious at the convention.
There's no doubt that a whole lot of people believe that Dr. Minnis, the leader, is being somewhat victimized by his colleagues. That's what the claim is, because he won on 2 occasions. And they feel that people like yourself, you're pushing for a convention to change the leadership of the party, or to seek to change the leadership of the party. Is that fair?
No, I don't think it's fair in that in calling for a convention, one is not necessarily pressing for a change in leadership. The convention is necessary for so many other reasons, and that's why I think that it would be very much in the party's interest to have it, to get it behind us, and moving forward. If there is a challenge of leadership, you're obviously going to have different people supporting different candidates if there's more than one that seeks the leadership of the party. So it nevertheless gives anyone that seeks to have position of leadership the opportunity to show their ability.
There's no secret that you are dissatisfied with the current leadership of the party, without going into any great details about it. That is fair to say, right?
Well, Mr. Jones, I don't. My personal views about the leader of the party, whoever it may be, really is not something that is is something that needs to be publicized. My position is I support the leader. We have a convention. The convention determines who the leader is. So if I or any other member would prefer some other person as a leader, it doesn't. That's a natural result of a convention. So the fact that one is called for a convention is not necessarily saying I'm calling for a change of leader.
You know, there's something about our democracy, and there's a view, Mr. Lightbourne, that there's sometimes too much democracy in the Free National Movement, if that can be if you can wrap your head around that particular expression, that there's too much democracy. And we saw that in 1977 with the split when the BDP came about. And we see it now, where people are calling for a convention, and there is a vibrant party, the FNM is. But because there is not the kind of leadership now as you had, say, in Mr. Ingram, that there seems to be chaos because of the expression of too much democracy.
I don't know that that would be regarded as the reason for there being issues within the party. You know, you got to remember, the only reason you can focus on the FNM at this point is because that some of these matters have been publicly voiced. I think that probably you'd find that the PLP are in far greater turmoil than we are in terms of the leadership in the party. So whether you personally believe it or not, I'm quite sure that there is. When we talk with members of the House and the PLP, when you talk with senior persons in the party, it's quite clear there's a major rift within that party in terms of leadership, in terms of whether or not they feel that the Prime Minister should run again, and then if not, who should challenge him. There's a strong desire to challenge him, but it's a question of which person would be the one to actually challenge him. At the moment, the Prime Minister is in a position where he basically controls the council, and it would obviously be difficult to move him. But there's a very strong feeling that the Prime Minister has outlived his use-by date, you know.
Yeah, but the only difference between your situation and the PLP is that the PLP seem to have been able to contain the disaffection or the debate over leadership, but yours is pretty much in the open. There's no secret that Loretta Butler Turner is interested in displacing Dr. Minnis, and that 5 members of Parliament in the House of Assembly are not supporting Dr. Minnis. Dr. Minnis himself knows that he can only count on 5 on the opposition side. And happily for him, 2 PLPs came over to make it 5. Had it not been for that, he probably would have been history as leader of the FNM. Isn't that right?
That is possible, but as you know, the only way you really remove a leader of the party is in convention. So,
I mean, you can go to the Governor General and ask the Governor General to remove him.
Yes, you could remove him as leader of the opposition.
Right.
Right. So you can do that.
But that was contemplated, wasn't it?
Well, it's. Mr. Jones, is one of those matters that was a public debate all around New Providence. You know, we know that is a means by which one can remove a leader of the opposition. Yeah. So to say that it hadn't crossed certain person's lips would be untrue. But the fact is that everybody's talking about it. They're on talk shows, on any public debate is clearly under the provisions of the Constitution. That's a means by which the leader is elected. So it naturally would be something that was known and would have been mentioned, but nothing more than that. It never came to anything, and therefore we are where we are today. So
yeah, you are considered to be a straight talker, a straight shooter in the Parliament of the Bahamas, and we've seen you in debate, and you pretty much speak your mind, and that is healthy for our democracy. People appreciate that about Richard Lightbourne, and what they want to know too is why doesn't Richard Lightbourne support Hubert Minnis as leader of the party?
Mr. Jones, I do support Mr. Minnis as leader of the party, in that he is the leader elected by the party under its constitution. I am a firm and committed member of the FNM, and I abide by the party's constitution.
Okay. Do you believe that the FNM, in its vibrancy, is addressing the issues of the day in the Bahamas as it ought? Do you have that capacity in the Parliament of the Bahamas, given the so-called rift, to address the issues properly?
There's so many issues. There's so many issues in our country which need addressing. It's difficult to say that one is addressing them all at the same time. And of course, people's memory is very short. You can make a big issue about a particular matter, and 3 weeks later you'll have people saying, "Oh, why don't you make a noise about this?" And you say, "Well, if you listened to Parliament 3 weeks ago, you would have seen this, or if you'd read the newspaper a couple of weeks ago, you would have seen the same thing." There's so many issues that need to be addressed that it's almost impossible for you to keep them in the public view on a daily basis, because the country is in a dire situation at this time. We're very close to imploding, and your government is simply ignoring the real issues that are facing this country, and they simply rush from one little issue to the other, and so, there are so many, as I say, there are so many issues that need to be addressed.
Yes, but when you look at governance in a general sense, the opposition is a part of the overall governance of the country. While the government of the Bahamas, the cabinet of the Bahamas, is responsible for carrying out policy, in terms of overall governance, the general population look to the opposition too to provide the kind of effective opposition to the government of the Bahamas, to dissuade them from doing certain things, to persuade them from to do some things. And my question is whether or not you are pleased with the performance, and look at it very dispassionately and objectively, whether you are pleased with the performance of the opposition since you have been there.
Well, the noble goals which you have mentioned are certainly something that one strives for, but in the way that the democracy works in our country, the opposition are simply there to critique or criticize what the government is doing. Now, one keeps hearing complaints about you're not proposing this, that, and the other thing. The way the government works in this country, government provides policies, they produce the bills when they want, and the opposition really has no control whatsoever as to how which matters are to be addressed, and government certainly never listens to an opposition. That has certainly been my experience from way back. I can remember years ago when there was a time when they were introducing the international business companies, which I'm sure you're very familiar with. That became a sort of international new type of corporation that had been created, and I think the majority of the majority of the companies at that time were initially being incorporated in the Cayman Islands, and it was obviously something which we as a country needed to consider. I wrote to the then Attorney General, pointed out to him the fact that there was this new creature being created and that it was something that we should look into and consider. I did not get so much as an acknowledgement of my letter, and I wrote another follow-up, and the same thing occurred. So there it was. We sat back for 3 or 4 years while Cayman and maybe 1 or 2 of the other jurisdictions got all of the business that was created at that time. And so we were very late in getting involved. And to me, that type of mindset has been in this country from that time. Nothing much has changed.
Richard Lightbourne is our guest on the program today, and we're going to look at some of the issues that he has been speaking about and we have heard from the opposition over the last few years. But we take this break and we'll come right back.